Paddy Gower, welcome to Between Two Beers.
Yeah, great. I've already started. Sorry. Might have to be 2.5 beers for me.
No apology necessary. I like it that way. Bit of a busy week, Paddy.
Yeah, huge week actually, with the documentary on hate coming out and News Hub, doing an investigative special on Delta before that on Wednesday. So it was a massive week. So what better way to wind down than with a 4-hour-long podcast on a Friday night? And what a great way to get good answers out of people in lockdown, eh? It's just like, oh yeah, because what else you got to do but have a couple of beers on a Friday, and I'll probably get a bit loose. So sorry or not sorry.
Yeah, we've got you trapped here. You've got no excuse to run away. But congratulations to really epic pieces of work this week. I saw the stats on it. I think it was nearly 900,000 Kiwis watched the two shows across 2 nights. Now, we get pretty excited of about 200 people listen to this thing. What's it like knowing 900,000 people have watched what you've been working so hard on?
Oh, it's an awesome feeling when that happens. Yeah. When you're sort of making and creating things, you do want people to watch it and see it. That's part of it. Like, I am interested in people watching it. I don't just make them for myself or I do make them for big audiences. So it's a special feeling to know that there's so many people out there watching them. There's no question about that. It's exhilarating seeing those numbers sometimes, and that's the honest truth. They are made for big audiences. Lots of work goes into them, and when you get it out to people, it feels really, really, really good. Like, really good. Yeah.
The way we start things here, Paddy, is we tell the audience how we know Paddy Gower. So, Shay, why don't you get us started?
Well, aside from helping me actually understand politics back when I was a little bit younger and more naive, I more recently met Paddy at a Hamilton Boys High Foundation dinner. I was the MC of the night. Paddy was the guest speaker. And he almost instantly made me feel at ease. It was my first time kind of MCing a reasonably large event. I've done weddings and 21st and family bits and pieces, but this was a sort of 300-seater, and I was shitting myself. And within sort of 2 minutes of meeting Paddy actually said, geez, I'm quite nervous. And I thought to myself, oh, okay, if Paddy Gower's a bit nervous, then that gives me license to be a little bit nervous. And I felt immediately at ease. But one of the things that stood out to me, and I wanted to talk to you about, Paddy, is during your intro, your opening remarks, you did your pepeha, which is introducing your maunga, your awa, where you're from in Taranaki. And a pissed up punter on one of the tables actually, tongue in cheek, shouted out or sledged you, speak in English. And I was incensed, and I thought you handled that really, really well. And is that just thinking on your feet to deflect and to address that sort of situation?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's interesting you bring that up, because it was a bit of a shock for someone to say that out loud in front of 300 people. That he had to yell it out, eh? So it was a bit of a shock, but just sort of thinking on my feet, I think I fired a quiet little barb at him, but it definitely put me off my stride. There's no question about that. But yeah. Your mind when you're sort of when you're in the broadcasting business, your mind can at times be just electric, just split second sort of stuff, and that's where that comes from. You can't, it's that instinct, I guess, where you can sort of find what to do in that sort of situation rather than kind of panicking.
Well, I thought you handled it extremely well. I thought you could have really laid into the guy, but you addressed it, acknowledged it, and then you carried on eloquently. And I thought that was excellent. So, tip of the cap to you. I definitely learned a lesson there. I would have probably, I was close to, I was in close proximity, and I was raging, but it was dealt with then and there, and that was excellent. But all in all, it was fantastic, and just dealing with you, learning off you was it was awesome for my kind of journey in terms of public speaking and getting in front of people.
Yeah, no, well, I thought you were awesome as well, mate. I'm surprised. I didn't realize that was your first big gig. I really didn't. Yeah, so I thought you would have done a few of them. So get your name on celebrity speakers website or something like that. This is just the beginning.
Well, we'll see how we go. But look, I finished the night when it closed. I went home. I was exhausted. But Stephen, you actually carried on into the Hamilton CBD, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, I was there that night too. Shay did a great job. So did you, Paddy. And I actually bumped into Paddy outside at midnight when you're sort of over 30. There's really only one or two places you can go. So Paddy said he was wanting to go to Wonder Horse. I overheard him. I said, well, I'm going to Wonder Horse. There's a bunch of us from sort of school, catch up once a year. And so we had a, 15, 20-minute chat on the way, walk into a pub. And there were two kind of remarkable things for me about that little 30-minute window with Paddy. The first is once we got into Wonder Horse, I've never experienced anything like it. Being out with an A-lister, because within 5 minutes, I think 5 different groups of people all came up to us. And to be fair, Paddy was wearing a very dashing blue suit, but it was just swarmed. It was guys, it was girls. The closest memory I've got of anything similar to that was being out with Ella de Malmonch when he was an All Black, but he was just getting swarmed by guys. Paddy had the whole... Yeah, it was almost overwhelming. I was getting asked to take photos and, I didn't really know him at all. So I was just a little glimpse into that world. And the other thing was he'd just done this great talk, and part of it he mentioned that he's kind of only known in public for one thing, which is saying, this is the fucking news. And on that walk into town, someone yelled it out. It was Paddy Gower. This is the fucking news. And he kind of brushed it off. So, yeah, I guess after all that, 2 questions, Paddy. Is that what it's like for you every time you go out to a bar, or is that just Hamilton? And how often are people saying this is the fucking news to you?
People will say this is the fucking news nearly every day of my life, really, if I'm honest. Yeah. Usually from cars, you know what I mean? Like I think there's a little bit of usually from a car I'll hear it. I think there might be a few people who go around the block to deliberately do it. And if people are boozing, I get it a lot. And people want me to do it into their phone and into their Snapchat and into all this sort of thing. So it's tricky.
For those who don't know the story, are you able to give us a bit of a background about what happened and how it sort of got out of control?
Yeah, well, it's an amazing yarn, really, because it was way back in 2014, and I was Duncan's understudy, or I was political editor anyway, and I was still sort of coming up, I guess, and the law students at Auckland Uni always do an annual sort of spoof kind of. Used to be on stage, and increasingly as life's gone on, it's been in a it's been a video sort of version, and they'd done one the year before that had gone quite viral. They'd made it quite professionally, got it on YouTube, and it had gone quite viral, and they were making another one, which was sort of going to be based loosely around the political thriller. What was that bloody political thriller that was really popular about the president and whatnot? And anyway, they were making a spoof of it, and they rang me up. This guy rang me up and said, I knew him through the Young Nats, you see. Sean Topham was his name. We'll come back to who he is now. And he rang me up and said, we're making this spoof, and we need a reporter to play a role in it. And we thought it would be awesome, because things went really well last year. We got 2 million views or something. We thought it'd be really awesome if John Campbell was in it. And can we get his number off you? and I said to this guy, Sean, I said, oh yeah, mate. I mean, I don't really know Campbell, but here's his email, and good luck, And then about a week later, he rang me back and he said, "Oh, Paddy, you know, Campbell hasn't returned my emails. You know, do you want to be in this thing?" And you know, I was like, "Oh yeah, don't mind being second best," and I agreed to be in it. And we were making it, and you know, it was a scene where I met them, and I met them in a library, and they handed me some papers or something like this. This was the actual thing, and we were down in the actual Law Library of Auckland, and they were just filming on a little camera, and you know, they're all about 21 years old, and you know, we're down there, and whatever happened, we came to this thing. We just sort of riffed it while we were there, where I was doing the piece to camera, and this guy said this, and you know, and we did it. Do you know what I mean? And the funny thing was, they never actually put it. It didn't fit with their script, and they never put it in their spoof. They just put it up on YouTube separately. Okay, and when they put it up, I was kind of like, geez, they were a bit more onto it than I thought, because they had the TV3 graphics and everything, and it looked quite good. I saw it on YouTube, and I was like, oh, geez, this might not be good if this kind of gets any further. And it just sort of sat there, you know what I mean? And nothing happened, you know, and it was sort of on a few hundred views for a couple of months. And then another guy makes a bloopers, an annual bloopers thing. A guy in Auckland makes an annual bloopers of stuff from all around the world, Dan News. And that gets quite a few views. And he had seen it online, and he put it into his end of year news bloopers. So he had news bloopers from CNN and Australian news and New Zealand news, and he had all these great actual news bloopers. And then about 6 minutes in, there's me going, I go, "Oi, this library, this is fucking news." I could see that people were going, "Oh, 6 minutes 40, 6 minutes 40." You know, that's where it was in his bloopers reel. It was like right in there. And of course, in amongst all those other bloopers, it looked like it was actually real, right? You know, it looked like it was a news blooper had been put out in this pretty comprehensive set of news bloopers. And then a guy called Fortify, Fortafy. Don't know who he is or where he is now, but you know, he had a big Facebook following or whatever. And then he clipped it out of there and put it to Thug Life and put it on YouTube, and it just went viral. Like it just went viral, and you know, people would start messaging me and everything, and then my phone just, you know, as they say, my phone blew up or whatever. And you know, I remember I went to bed and it was on about 100,000 views, and I woke up in the morning and it was on 1 million, and and I knew that, you know, it was going to be seriously big. You know, like it just actually went globally viral. And to be honest, I thought it would die down, but it seems to just go round and round and round. You know, TikTok wasn't even around back then. You know, it was, you know, now it's on TikTok and it's had a new life, and yeah, it's something that I'll never live down. I remember saying to someone, we were walking along the street, beautiful sunny day that summer, in this car full of, you know, I hate to say it, but they were probably from Gore. I was in the South Island. Nothing wrong with Gore, by the way. You know, 17 years old, and New Year's was coming up, and I remember seeing this lowered car kind of see me in my casual gear and slow down, and all of these guys sort of look out the window. And then it just went around the block, and this lowered car came at me, and it was this beautiful sunny day, time to chill out. Summer was relaxing, and you know, they just drove down and just slowed down right next to me. And just, "This is the fucking news!" And sort of smashed the whole sort of scenario, you know, the whole beautiful scenario. And I said, "Oh, you know, don't worry, it'll die down after summer." Well, anyway, that was 8 summers ago.
But so, Paddy, does it annoy you? Like, are you over it now?
No, it doesn't annoy. Sometimes if I'm in a bad mood about something, you know, I'm alone with my thoughts or something, and it comes in. And sometimes if people are can get quite intrusive about it when you know. Then every now and then I'll get slightly annoyed. But to be honest, like it's actually it's fun for everyone, and that's awesome. And I mean, it's fucking funny. So, and you know, it's, fuck knows where it came from, and but it's there and it's out there. But anyway, the irony, the guy Sean Topham who came up with it all, he's become a global force in political communication. If you look him up on the internet, you know, he's behind sort of Boris Johnson's successful campaigns and Scott Morrison in Australia. He's gone off and become this kind of communications guru, you know, like, you know, who sort of gets involved in usually right-wing political campaigns and saves leaders from, you know, wins elections for people. So I guess I was just a little test tube for him.
I've got to admit, I was probably one of the people. I genuinely thought it was a blooper that just got spliced in for ages.
Yeah, most people still think it's a blooper. Most people still think it's a blooper, and yeah, but it was actually a skit that they didn't use in the skit that got turned into a blooper. I mean, it's got a really weird kind of origin. It's just bizarre. But
did someone get a tattoo of it on them?
2 people have got tattoos of it. One's got it on the shin, and the other's got it on the one's got it on the shin, which is a very, very unusual place for a tattoo. That was a guy 3 or 4 years ago, and then a guy got one earlier this year for free or something. I'm pretty sure his was on the upper thigh, which is a bit better because you can obviously use the shorts to hide it. So, and the second guy was the one who had the "it's" spell wrong. There was no apostrophe in the "it's," so he's got to go back. But it's funny. I was just at home in Taranaki the other weekend, and I shouldn't really say who it is, but one of the guys involved with the Amber and Black rugby team, it's his brother-in-law. And he assured me that the guy who got it was completely normal and actually a good guy. So I was like, oh, sweet, you know, that's something. Yeah, cool.
I've got to admit, I did enjoy being in your company, experiencing someone yelling it to you after hearing all about it. And that was a special moment for me.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah.
So the way we like to do things at Between Two Beers, we reach out to your colleagues, your teammates, your friends, to get a bit of an idea of what they think about you, help the audience paint a picture. So one of your colleagues at News Hub, who's asked to remain anonymous, has said this. He said, Paddy's probably the most relatable and approachable person you'll find. He's an easy bloke to talk to and is comfortable talking about everything from politics to global issues to rugby. He's always consistent. What you see is what you get with Paddy. He has an energy and a vibe that allows him to connect with people. There's a sense of authenticity about him. The other thing about him is his incredible work ethic and work rate. But while he works hard, he parties hard too. He brought personality to the political editor role at News Hub and was so important to their team that they basically created a role for him. When he's in the Auckland newsroom, there's just so much positivity that comes with him. And I tend to agree. Like I said, I've only sort of met you in person for 30 minutes, but all of those things appeared true to me, and speaking with Shay, the same. So looking forward to sort of unpacking the career, the life, and seeing how this personality has developed. The place we wanted to start is last year you hosted the Leaders Debate. And we wanted to have a little bit of a look behind the scenes there. So that's obviously like a huge occasion. There was 3 debates. I think you had the second one, maybe John Campbell had one, but you've got the whole country essentially watching, well, a big percentage of them. You talked about being nervous, you know, before emceeing a gig at Hamilton Boys High. What are the nerves like before a live Leaders Debate? And do you have a team that helps you prep? Is it like a week-long session of finding the right questions, or how does that whole process work?
Yeah, so it was my second time doing it, and you're right. TVNZ has 2 debates, and TV3 has one, and Stuff has another one, which is streamed but not televised. So there's one debate for TV3, and it's always the second one. So yeah, there's obviously just just so much pressure on you, just so much pressure to get it right. And yeah, that really just ramps up day after day after day as you get closer. And the first debate that I did, the election before, I just can't even remember what happened. I just can't even remember it. It went so fast, 90 minutes. But I put in a massive amount of prep. 10 days hardcore probably, and probably about another 10, semi-hardcore. And by hardcore, I mean like 12 hours, leave the room exhausted, wiped out, from thinking so hard, and researching every question. And yeah, we work in a pretty tight team with a producer and a researcher, and there's about 4 of us who work on it and literally write out all of the questions, and then imagine what their answers will be, and write out questions about what we think that they'll say and how we could bring someone in on another point and stuff like that. So if you think about it, we actually completely map it out, multiple options. It's quite an amazing set of work that we do in it. And my thing is that, I think in the last election I just wanted to double my prep. Last election I was still working in politics, so I had to do that job as well, have a bit of time off it. This one I didn't have that pressure, so I wanted to double the prep. And so you have a team, and you just go hard. What should we ask about? Where should this go? And create this gigantic jigsaw puzzle that you then chuck in, and they chuck your pieces sort of everywhere. So it is without question, in my mind, it's obviously the most high pressure thing I've ever done personally, and I've done it twice now, because of the audience and the time and what's at stake, and the leaders are just they're at the next level as well. The first election was Ardern was on her way to take out English, and that was a very close sort of election. And when the debate happened, they were pretty much neck and neck. Either of them could have, National Labour could have won. So there was a huge amount of pressure that night. This election, it was a bit different in terms of the actual political structure, but there's still heaps of pressure. Ardern hadn't done so well in the first debate, and so she was coming in, and Collins was pretty hot as well. So yeah, mate. I mean, I don't know what to say. It's massive job.
That's an insane mental endeavor. 12-hour days of cramming your head full of knowledge. Did you seek out any sort of mental coach to help you with that? Yep.
I wouldn't call him a coach or whatever, but I did want to, kind of change up the prep, and I was starting to struggle mentally with going into a second one, and I was starting to feel quite fragile or worried, and there's only so much prep that you can do, research, before you're starting to wear yourself out. So I was looking around for, I guess, external advice or something like that, and the person that came to mind is someone who could help me get into this kind of zone where I needed to get into. I wasn't sure. I wasn't as frightened as I was for the first debate. I was going into a second one, so I didn't have that nervous energy, and I was questioning myself all the time. So I actually I went to school with his brother, so I knew him pretty well. We used to hang out together when we were younger. He was a little tacker, but Conrad Smith from the All Blacks, obviously. I got in touch with him. He was over in France, and sent him a message and said, would this be something that you'd be interested in helping me with, preparing for this debate? There's a week to go. And he WhatsApped me back, and yeah, he's like, yeah, PG, yep, I'll help you. And it was good. We got on the Zoom like we are now, and I explained the situation to him, and he was really awesome, because he'd played so many tests for the All Blacks. I don't even know how many he played. It's over 90 or whatever. But I think that kind of fitted with me. I was like, sort of didn't want to say it to him, but how does an old bastard keep getting fired up? How when you and that, I guess that was sort of where I was coming from, and how do I lift again for another one, and how can I cope with the unknown, and he had some really good tips for me. That he said, every time he went out for a test match after everyone had been sort of yelling and screaming in the changing room and all of that, and don't know what they do in there, and he said that, and it reminded me. He said that he would smile when he ran out onto the field, and because he said, I would always and he said I would smile and think that I wanted to express myself. Express myself was one of his key words, and I jotted that down because that's what I wanted to do in the debate as well. Obviously, I wanted to do all the basics right and be in the right position all the time, be in the right mindset all the time, but I didn't want to finish without expressing myself. You know what I mean? And that was one of the sort of the key things that I got from Conrad. And and he also talked about walking towards the challenge. Walking towards the challenge, and that was another thing that I took in there. And basically, at the end of that, it was great because we weren't really sort of yarning about politics or anything like that. It was more just dealing with high performance and how to get the best out of yourself when you can't. I guess with professional sports person, not that I'd be anywhere near that, but they must get to a position where they can't train. You can't train anymore. So like I couldn't sit in a room and read any more about the economy or read any more about the health system, or like you can't actually do that anymore. What I could do was try and get my mind into a really sort of clear pattern, and that's what Conrad brought to it. And I don't know if he does it for anyone else or whatever, but I'm sure in the corporate world or anything, the lessons of someone who's got that kind of mindset are just amazing. And it's funny because you do a month's worth of prep, and I had the best team working on the prep with me. But that hour or a couple of hours with Conrad, probably made a huge difference in just keeping me calm out there in the debate.
Was that the first time that you'd ever sought that external guidance, mentorship outside of your vocation?
Yeah, it really was. I mean, I've worked with psychologists before, kind of on work and just on your personal life. Like, I found when I was working in Parliament, it was such a pressure cooker. Like you get eyes in the back of your head in there. And I really needed to work with a psychologist to kind of just stop the twisting that had happened in my brain or whatever, like to, it's a real Friday night word, but untwist my brain. So I'd done a lot of work. Like that, and then I'd started getting interested in, talking to people, Linda Clark, you might remember her. She was a political editor for TVNZ when we were a lot younger, and then she left and became a lawyer and stuff like that. And I've been talking to her and getting insight into life from her, and I started to realize how helpful external people could be. And I started sitting down and having coffees with people, and this is when I left Parliament, and just learning more about how you could learn off other people. So that was the first time that I got someone in specifically with a task to help me specifically with a task. And Conrad came in with a plan of how to keep the basics right, how to keep calm when there were mistakes, how to get to an ad break and reassess. You've got to break there, pick back on what you've done. Use that time in your break to use the first minute of the break to assess what's been done. Use the second minute to plan for the next one. Then use the last minute of the ad break to clear again. You know what I mean? Just little things like that, which I would never have thought of, and I was like, oh, that's a good idea, and he'd be like, oh, that's what we do, there's a break there, it's a chance. I'd talk to Ma Nonu and say, do this, do that, we just have a little set and stuff like that. So, just that ability to use someone who's coming in from a completely different mindset, but actually doing something really similar is just perfect. But that was the first time I got it in on a specific task. And Conrad is people who watch a lot of sport. He's a guy, and everyone knows that actually his work ethic and his rugby brain are what set him apart. And I'd kind of put myself in the same kind of class as a journo. It's really my experience and my work ethic and my actual understanding of journalism and broadcasting, my actual brain and my experience that are really my strengths, rather than anything natural or flashy or anything like that. I wasn't really blessed with those sort of special things, but it's really been my work ethic and my love of journalism that's helped me get to where I've got to just by using a lot of nous. So what you've accidentally got me doing here is basically calling myself the Conrad Smith of journalism.
Hey, your words, Paddy.
Seems pretty arrogant.
It's a great title for the episode.
Yeah.
yeah. With little brackets, according to him, at the end of it.
So you do 10, 12-hour days of cramming. You get through it. You do a great job. I really mean that. I thought you did a great job. And then I understand from your link, perhaps with Conrad, you get invited to speak at an All Blacks club night before a Bledisloe Cup test the day after the election. Is there?
Yeah. So it must have been
so much thing as saying no. Like, can you say no to things when you've got so much going on and you're sort of already mentally exhausted, or was that just something you wanted to do?
Yeah. No. Well, I had. There was quite a lot of other stuff on, because I know after the debate I had a forum on the cannabis vote. Live forum with heaps of people talking. Then I had a live forum on the euthanasia vote. So I was still working pretty hard leading up to the election. And I had a lot on, but, all of a sudden, and I'm not name dropping here. This is the guy who just called himself the Conrad Smith of journalism. Sam Kane sort of started WhatsApping me saying, would you like to come in and, there's this tradition, and Conrad had started the tradition. I think it's called Club Night or Clubbies or something like this, but they all wear their club jumper on a Wednesday and they go down and have a little chilled out get together. And I think Conrad started it and Sam Kane took it over, and it just finished as captain. And I think Brad Webber has now taken it on since Sam Kane became captain, sort of organising it. And they get in a guest speaker, and they were saying, because the election's going to be it was on the Wednesday, because the election's going to be on the Saturday and their game's on the Sunday, do you want to come in? And I was like, oh, yeah, well, it's quite an honour, but actually I'm pretty fucking busy right now. But you know, I'll I was just like, fuck, you know, and I'll make it work. I'll make it work, Sam Cane, you know, and yeah, because you know they're not going to want me back another time when it's out of election season or whatever, and they can get whoever else they get in. And then I was on the project that night, and I was like, I tried to get out of it, you know, like I was like, oh, but the boss of the project, who's a good mate of mine, John Bridges, was sort of like, no, I don't really like the idea of you, you know, we want you on, you know, it's the week before the election, you know. So then it became sort of, okay, I could go to the All Blacks, and they started at 6:15, and I had to leave at 6:50, jump in the car and go straight to the project, which meant I had to go down there with my studio makeup on, which I don't know if you've ever seen studio makeup. It is pretty full on, but you know, I could go in it and no traffic, get out of there at 6:50. Have no beers, no socialising, nothing with them, no schmoozing, no photos, because there's no time. I just had to go and do my thing down there. And also I had to rock in, you know, and it's all sort of, you know, Foster and Scott McLeod and all these guys sort of loping in with their little club jumpers on and everything. And then, you know, Paddy Gower standing over in the corner, full makeup, you know, like what a car painter would put on you. Here, sort of swished, you know, brand new jacket, little pocket square, and you know, I mean, like, did not look right. It did not look like, you know, I should be anywhere near the All Blacks in a sanctum. But it was pretty awesome. Brad Weber had organised a debate, like for the All Blacks, and I was the moderator, and they had, I think it was Anton Leonard-Brown, Joe Moody, Sevu Reece, and Damien McKenzie were the four that they'd chosen for the debate, and they'd given them each you know, it was like one policy that you would introduce if you became Prime Minister or something, and Paddy's going to choose which is the best policy. And it's interesting how competitive they were, because I kind of arrived and I was a bit nervous, and you know, all these All Blacks start flooding in, and you know, it was always a bit awkward, you know, when you're standing somewhere and people don't really come up and yarn to you, and thankfully the Bowden Barrett, I'd met him a couple of times, and Scott Barrett, and they came up and had a chat with me, and I didn't feel like such a loser. And then Anton Leonard-Brown came bounding up, you know, and he's like, "Oh, g'day, mate, how are you?" And he sort of, you could tell he's a real competitive guy, because he already had his idea, and even though I was judging it, he started like telling me about it. You know, he's, "Oh, I've got this idea. This is my idea. What do you think of it, mate?" And you know, he's like trying to sort of talk, you know, like talk up the ref, I guess, before it even started. And anyway, Leonard Brown had this idea. It was, you know, quite a good one. It was about getting people, you know, it was sort of like along the lines of COVID-19, and he'd been on the internet and seen how many unemployed there were in New Zealand, and wanted to get them working in the jobs that we needed. And what do you think of this, Paddy? And what do you think of this? And I was like, "Hey, just wait till we start, mate." And then we got going, and Damien McKenzie got up, and his policy was he wanted to stop binge drinking at home before you went to bars.
No,
you know, like
preloading.
Yeah, he wanted to stop preloading and make it happen in bars. And then I was like, I'm pretty sure his old's own a bar, right? And so I was like, I don't know about that one. Sevu Reece said one about you know, citizenship for people, you know, more free flow between Fiji and Aotearoa, New Zealand, and Leonard Brown had his, and then Joe Moody got up, and he had more than one policy. You know what I mean? One of them was quite global. It was about the Catholic Church. Like he had an idea to solve sort of some of the issues in the Catholic Church. It was pretty big. And then he just absolutely had a blinder with his second one. He had a big screed of notes. He'd obviously been working really, really hard. And then he just came out with another absolute blinder. And Joe Moody is the best debater in the All Blacks, is the upshot. And
Wow.
yeah, I had no choice but to award it to Joe Moody, who was just the most prepared, eloquent speaker out of the four of them, and is actually the All Blacks champion debater.
I love hearing stories like that they put so much effort into it. It's this club night they all look forward to, and they're obviously competitive guys, but it sounds like they really go for it.
Yeah, and they had a raffle. They had a raffle in there, and I'll tell you, if I'd had time to stick around, the raffle had all those flash headphones and everything in it. And yeah, the raffle's something to be part of as well. But I had to go. There was a car waiting for me outside to get to the project.
Hey, Paddy, your colleague mentioned your work ethic. You've spoken about your work ethic. There's already an example here of such a busy week. So you do this on the Wednesday, and it's election night on the Saturday. Now, your election night performance itself was incredible. High energy, entertaining. Is that stuff off the cuff, or have you kind of predetermined some of the things you're going to say? Well, I guess you can't because you don't know how the results are going to go, right?
Yeah, but I mean, you do get a bit of a, so election night for me was just, it's like, okay, I know what my job is here. It's going to be to do the numbers, and, it's going to be once or twice an hour, and it's really quick. I did it the last time before, and you've really just got to make the most of it and have some fun. So, I just kind of sat down and thought up a whole lot of things that might happen and might be funny for people at home, just knowing that lots of people at home are just going to be, sitting back and they want a bit of a laugh as well. So, I'll come up with a whole lot of ideas of sort of funny things to say or lines and stuff like that, and just make a big list of them. And there's some comedy writers at the project who help us with that kind of thing as well. So get them in on it, and then kind of lodge them all in your head, because there's no use memorizing them, because they're just not going to be funny unless you bring them out naturally or change them, kind of thing. So then it's sort of like kind of cram it all in. And to be honest, after preparing for a debate and a euthanasia debate and a weed debate, that kind of thing is actually fun. And that's how I tried to kind of look at it. Just like, okay, this is the fun night that's coming up. And I just went out there to have fun, and I really, really enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it. It's like another one of those things. The election before, doing it for the first time, didn't have any fun, got nervous. All of a sudden, the night's over, and you're back at home at 2 a.m. in the morning, going, God, I wish I could do that again. And you might never get the chance. You might not get the nod to be in the next election or whatever. And it's just about sort of making the most of it on the night and just trying to be funny and just be in the moment. When that camera comes on, you just switch on and enjoy it. And that's what happened. Yeah.
Well, it definitely came across that way. And just to round out, I guess, the sporting analogies, athletes and reflect and review their performance formally. Is it the same once you've been through an election? Is there a debrief, a sit down through the company? Do you kind of review it? Oh, this debate went well. How, or do you just, once it's done, it's done?
Mate, you only do that if you fuck it up. And so thankfully I haven't had one of those. It's only when something goes really, really wrong in journalism, I find that's when there's a bit of a debrief. So, not in that kind of scenario, but it takes a long, long time to come down. Like, for that debate, you work yourself right up, or I work myself right up into, where I want to be in that sort of situation is somewhere that I talk about a lot, and to myself in journalism, I talk about hitting the 99th. I'm trying to hold up something here. The 99th, I call it the 99th percentile, is where I like to get to in journalism. It's my own terminology, and it's it definitely got there in the debate. Definitely got there on election night. Other times it might be with a story or something that I'm working on, and you just kind of end up in this space where you're operating well above your normal. You're just almost operating on instinct. And sometimes when I'm chasing or breaking a big story, I get to this place as well. And actually, you just forget about everything else that's happening around you, and you just end up in this really awesome place as you sort of move to breaking a story, or you're doing the debate, or you're there on election night, or the documentary's coming out or something like that, and you're working really hard, and you're just like totally in the zone. And it's a great feeling when you're there. I guess it'd be like when a surfer's surfing pipeline or something like that, and it's just like, man, this is just the best feeling. This is just the awesome feeling, to be here. So definitely you get there for the debate or something, and when you work yourself up into it, the adrenaline and everything that's in it, like after the debate, I won't sleep for 2 or 3 days and then crash, just wake up in the morning after it, just adrenaline, like that phrase, it's a cliche, but literally just coursing through your whole body, just like actually just pulsating, kind of feeling. So yeah, that's what I call in my work the 99th percentile, and it's awesome when you get there. But the problem is when you get old, when you're younger, it used to sort of feel like it was happening every week, and then it's like every month, and then it's like every couple, and then 6, and now it's like I've really got to work hard to get myself there once a year.
Sounds a little bit like drinking as you get older. And
it is. Yeah.
Along those lines, and sticking with the sports theme, we got a little tip to ask you about the Rugby World Cup in Japan and strong zeros and Pocari Sweat.
Yeah, well, strong zeros. I don't know. Anyone who's been to Japan will attest to this. They're a sort of they're an RTD, but they're 9%, right? And
that's dangerous.
You can just get the So here, RTDs. It's like you can get some 9% beers, which are good. Having one now, and but strongs are. You buy them in the dairy and they're 9%. So every time we get on the booze over there, we just get some strongs, and don't want to name names, but we'd head over to Mick Roberts' apartment and have a session on the strongs. And the Pocari Sweats were a sort of souped up kind of syrupy electrolyte drink. It's sort of like as many strongs as you put in the night before, you could fix with the Pocari Sweats in the morning. It was sort of, you had to sort of, if 10 strongs went in, you needed 10 Pocari Sweats to get moving again. But it was awesome before COVID. Being over in Japan for a Rugby World Cup. I'd never been to a World Cup before, and let alone report on one. And I don't do a lot of sports reporting. I was there for the project, which kind of gave me a really wide brief. And I love rugby, as you might have gathered, and it was just awesome to see a World Cup and also to see the media and how all that worked, and then just to be out amongst the people of Japan and getting to report, and just the project was just like, oh, you want to interview a professional wrestler tonight? Cool. Off the professional wrestling in Japan, there's a Kiwi guy in it, and we're off there watching that one night, and it's just like, this is the best job in the world. Like, we're actually at professional wrestling in Japan while we're at the World Cup, getting paid for it, and we're going to get on the strongs tonight, and we'll be okay for tomorrow night because we'll have some Pocari Sweats.
Good. Paddy, I've got to jump around a little bit now. I sort of want to take you back to the start. I love it when we have guests who are at the very top of their field, which you are, and learning about what they were like as a kid through school. And I've heard you in a few interviews say a few things which I found really interesting about your childhood. I've heard you describe yourself as a terrible student in high school. you've said that you've spoken about being bullied as a kid. You used humor as a deflection. When you think back to what made you a terrible student?
Yeah, I was a real distraction for others in the class. I was a class clown, and I never ever realised my potential as a school student. You know, like you know, I was really really good reader and really bright, and but for some reason I just could never. I could just never get it together in the classroom. You know, I was sort of, you know, and to be honest, you know, I was probably lucky to get out of there and get to uni where I just took off. But yeah, at school I was a class clown. You know, I was involved in all sorts of shenanigans. I wasn't bad in any way, but teachers found it really hard to have me in the classroom. So I'd often, you know, I would often get kicked out, and you know, my reports were always the same. You know, just a major distraction and not reaching his potential, and you know, I'd just pass or whatever. And yeah, and you know, I had really really bad buck teeth, really bad buck teeth, like really really bad. And you know, we'd go to Auckland and see if, you know, I was growing up in New Plymouth, and we'd go to Auckland and see if people, you know, it wasn't even braces, you know, we'd go to Auckland and see if they could do an operation to kind of improve my teeth and that sort of thing. And so I'd get did get teased a lot, you know, I did get teased a lot while I was at school. Even though I had a good group of friends and was at a great school and everything, you know, there was a lot of teasing, and that probably added to the kind of clown thing. And like you say, I'd use humor as a deflection and stuff like that. So it was never that my school life was great, but I just never found, you know, the drive or something to do well there. In fact, I did pretty crap. It's quite a long answer, isn't it?
No, it's a good answer. I want to trace your journalism journey now, and I want to start talking about Paddy Gower, the print reporter. So I understand you started at the Herald as a night reporter. You became the Hamilton reporter, went overseas, bounced back to the Herald, was a Parliament reporter before transitioning into TV in 2010. But what do you remember? What stands out across those years as a print journo, and what do you look back fondest of?
My life really, really changed when I became a print journo in my first job at the Herald, which was night shift, 6 p.m. till 1:30 a.m. And it was the first time I'd ever had a night shift reporter. It'd start on Sunday night at 6 p.m. and work through to 1:30 a.m. And your job was to watch the facts, you know, because there wasn't even really emails in those days. You know, watch the facts, and it had this green paper on it, and it would just sort of, you know, something would come in from Coast Guard, and something would come in from, you know, the Employers Manufacturers Association. These things would sort of churn out, and you'd kind of have to read them and hope something good was coming in. But mate, I can remember, as soon as I finished uni, I went to uni, and as soon as I finished that and went to journalism school, and as soon as I started actually doing journalism out originally at Waikato Times and then up at the Herald just as a student, like I was just like, this is it, man. This is just so awesome. This is amazing. This is just amazing. I just want to work in this so badly. And yeah, I can remember my first week at the Herald. There was this old guy came in, Arnold Pickmere, and I think he was the deputy chief reporter at the time or something, and he was a real old school guy, and he just said, oh, there's been a bust of some kind on Remuera Road of some immigrant workers at 252 Remuera Road or something like that. You're right. And I've just driven past it. Go out and check it out. And went out there, and sure enough, one of the neighbours came out. It was Remmers, so they were pretty nosy. And 10 guys have been taken off all these plasterers, and they've been arrested by immigration, and jotted it down in my notebook, and came back to the office and wrote it up, and it was on the front page the next day on my first week. And I went to the dairy down the road from my flat, and it was just the most amazing feeling to hear a tip, go and see something, grab some stuff off some people, and then, you know, find out it's actually this, you know, relatively big deal, like an immigration bust in Remus, and, you know, and then it's on the front page the next day, and I was just hooked. I was just so hooked. I was just at it immediately for yarns, just for doing yarns. And
how old are you at this stage, Paddy?
Oh, about 22. Yeah, 22 or 23. And it was like my life just changed. It was just, I found the whole meaning for life, really, just that day, and just in days all around it. I can remember all of the stories. I could tell you 50 stories like that from the first year of these things that I did that were just so exciting. And I just everything changed for me. So, you know, I'd gone well at uni, in between school, as it had got sort of harder, and I'd kind of started to just find a bit of drive, and then bang, as soon as I actually started working in journalism, you know, like I'd been going up and up from the class clown, and did well at uni in my honours, got an honours degree. Then I did the diploma, and I'd do really well in the diploma when I was out on work experience, and my personality was coming out in the class and that. But then when I went to work for the Herald in that night shift job, like, just everything just changed. It was just like, this is what I was put on this earth to do. Like, this is just better than anything. Just coming into work is just so good. And yeah, just changed. Just everything just changed. It was awesome.
And then in 2010, you make the transition to TV. You've been a print journo up till then. And I'm just sort of reading back through what you did. You know, you left in 2018, but you became the News Hub political editor in 2012. But man, there was some stuff in those years. You know, you had the teapot tapes. You're over at the Trump campaign in 2016. You travelled with John Key to Iraq. When you look back on that TV period as the political editor, what do you remember strongest?
Oh, it was just, you know, I mean, I've been really lucky. You know, I've had such an amazing life. Like, I've had such an amazing life thanks to this job. And yeah, I look back, and, you know, the truth is the way that things ended up for me in politics, you know, like, I am bitter about it, and you know, I don't look back on it fondly. You know, basically is you know, had a breakdown at the end of it and kind of quit one day type thing. So that sort of just kind of colours everything for me, and I don't like the person that I became in the end. But when you say it like that, and when I remember back like that, it was just an amazing explosion. You know, for me, I was already loving my job as well, and then this whole new world opened up, a whole new medium. You know, it's just like learning all that television and using pictures and everything like that, and then just expanding in politics and starting to interview. And you know, you're right at the center of attention. You're just right at the center of the action when you're working in politics. And huge amount of overseas travel. You know, probably went to about, you know, there's no COVID around, and so you're doing three trips a year with the Prime Minister all around the world, just ending up all over the shop. You know, and it was just a explosive time. You know, and you know, Duncan Garner was the one who got me into it. I was just sort of a scruffy kind of print reporter at the Herald, and you know, I was breaking quite a few yarns. You know, I was doing some really, really bloody good yarns for the Herald, and Duncan was just sort of saying, "Oh, do you want to come? You know, if there's ever an opening, come over." And I always thought he was joking. He was like, come over," and you know, the more yarns I'd get, I think he just wanted me in the office and just to bring some yarns in. And yeah, one day he got me over, and someone was leaving, and he was a good bugger, I said, oh, I don't want to come over, and it'll be awful if I fail. I don't want to come over to TV and fail and not do well. And he said, he put out his hand to me, old school kind of way, and he just said, I won't let you fail, PG. I just won't let you fail. I promise you. And he didn't. He really had my back, because I was really quite appalling on TV when I started. I'd had no training whatsoever, and my looks weren't suited to TV. There was sort of it was probably quite hard for people to understand what I was actually sort of doing there, viewers. And, I did get a lot of shit, and there was a lot of people probably, not probably, there were a lot of people telling Duncan what I needed to do and what I didn't need to do. And, that if that gets to you, that kind of talk, it's going to, you're going to lose your self-confidence, which is what you need to get better, right? And, he deflected a lot of that. He took a lot of that on, and he did have my back for 1 or 2 years leading up to you mentioned it before, the teapot tapes, which is when I was about 18 months in, and I was just starting to find my feet. That was a brutal 18 months. And I've often said, if social media was a bit more around, I don't reckon I would have made it through those 18 months. Social media was only just picking up. And I think, if it had been around, just the amount of criticism I was getting from the public about my performance and the way that I looked, that I was sort of picking up myself, I probably would have jacked it in under that sort of pressure. But thankfully it wasn't around. Even my own family. My cousin got pissed at Christmas once and said, "Fuck, I just fucking can hardly watch you on TV, mate. You're so fucking terrible." I was like, "Fuck, this is fucking bad. Fucking hell, fucking good Christmas. Fuck you."
When you look back at those performances, taking your looks out of it, were you doing a good job then? Like now?
Yeah, I had looked back on them a fair bit, and look, they were, you're taking a look at aside the performances. Like I've seen some people, watching some of them come into TV at the moment. They're actually really, really good coming in from print, and definitely took me a lot longer. The performances were not good for a little while there, but then they just started to turn. They just started to kind of, and it was hard because I couldn't do the journalism that I'd been used to doing. You know what I mean? So it's very, very frustrating because you get a good yarn and you couldn't actually translate it. So you've got that real professional frustration as well, before the performance. But, then it just started turning around, and by the time the election came around and the teapot tapes were on, I really kind of just hit my straps, and it started to come together, and the teapot tapes were probably a turning point for me, and that was 18 months of hard work to kind of get there. But yeah, like that was just an awesome story to be involved in, just absolute political chaos. It was just like, politics in this country is so crazy, always has been. And, you just end up on these amazing just stories that, a few years later, you're like, yeah, what was that actually about? They're so crazy and full of all these sort of little intricacies that you've almost got to get on Google yourself and remind yourself of what it was actually all about. But, at the time, it's like the whole country's so gripped by them. Everyone knows every little in and out, and that's one of the cool things about politics in New Zealand. Like there's these scandals that are there. When you look back at them in history, they're actually quite complex, and you're like, well, yeah. But, that just, the tapes got busted open, and Duncan just took it over, and I was sort of there and as the second cab off the rank, and just was outstanding.
Well, it wasn't a scandal, but it was quite a humorous little bit that we picked up in our research. Tell us about the time when you left your passport behind. Was it when you were traveling to Iraq? Was that with John Key?
Fuck, mate. What a shocker. So key, so we had troops in Iraq, right? And they were training the Iraqi army, and with America and everything like that. And Key had said something at the start, like, if I send troops there, I will go there, sort of scenario. So then anyway, he went ahead there, and of course it's all top secret. And, a couple of months out, you're down with the Defence Force, and there's all this planning, and the whole thing was he was going to go and not tell anyone until he came out, for his own safety. So we cruised over to Dubai, and we got there, and just so pumped to be flying from Dubai into Iraq. And we had a free day, and we decided to go to the beach. And I remember we were sitting around, and we were like, the only thing that could go wrong now was if someone had their passport stolen or lost or something. And I went up from the pool, sunglasses on, towel around the neck, ready to just get changed into my little shorts and head down to the beach in Dubai. And I did something that I'd never, ever done before. And I was just like, oh, got to be awful if someone broke into my room and stole my passport. I'm going to put it in the hotel safe and just keep it safe there, because, it'd be really strange if someone nicked my passport. And went to the beach, came back. We were going the next day and stayed up, really late into the night, packing and repacking my bags. And, do I really need to take this? Do I really want to travel as light as possible? And what if I'm on the plane and I need to get this out? And should I have this in this bag? And, oh yeah, hang on, I'll repack them, pack them a bit tighter. You know what I mean? And spent half the night packing and had everything, maybe I need this pen in this bag, and if I lose that pen, I don't want to, I'm going to need this while I'm there, and all of this sort of stuff. Meanwhile, the passport's just sitting in the safe. And then we get up the next day, get in the minivan, and we go to this military airport. And there's a kind of a mess there, and the New Zealand soldiers are there, and the SAS arrived because they were taking us in. So all these kind of hard-ass guys sort of start coming in and cruising around, and everyone's really chill and just sitting there having a cup of coffee, and planes on the runway, and obviously it didn't feel like an airport at all, because it's just a barracks, I suppose it's called. Then guy goes, all right guys, we're going, get your passports out for passport control. Fuck. And it was like my life flashed before my eyes. You know that saying? Like that actually happened, and it was like a movie of that rewind, that actually sort of happened, and it's like right back to the shutting the safe, like that actually happened. It was just like, and I this guy was standing right next to me, and I said, fuck mate, I put my passport in the safe. And he just looked at me and goes, fucking really? Yeah, like his army guy. I go, yeah, mate, it's in the safe back in Dubai. And then he just goes, another guy goes, take him back to Dubai. And it's about half an hour away. And we went back, and I was on the phone Googling and getting the phone number for the hotel, and then got there, on, can you get me the manager? It's in this room, it's in this safe, you've got to go and get into it. You know what I mean? Anyway, get there. He's standing outside waiting. Drive in, pick it up. You could hear some comms that it's pretty embarrassing to say, but Key or the Prime Minister, he held the plane for me. They're saying, oh, he's holding the plane for him.
Paging passenger Gower. Passenger Gower, you are the last to board the flight to Baghdad.
Yeah, well, he was going to meet the president of Iraq in Baghdad.
Oh, shit.
And we were there, and it was interesting. The guy that was driving me was not as kind of amped up to get me there as I probably was. You know what I mean? And and yeah, he was not the most positive member of the New Zealand Armed Forces that I've ever met in my life. about what was going to happen. Whereas I'm sort of always like, you know what, he's like, it's not sounding good, mate. And I was like, you know, can you speak? No, I can't, mate. And I was like, I think we'll get there. He's like, I don't reckon you will. Like, hey, bro, just bloody, just bloody humour me here, you know, like, you know, and I've always had this thing called Paddy luck. You know, I've got this brilliant luck, you know, that just comes through for me when I need it most. And I was just like, look, it's going to come this time. But the thing was to get back into the army base, and this is what this army guy started explaining to me on the way. He's like, doesn't matter if we get there, you know, you can only check in once, and you checked in this morning. So even if you get back with your passport, you're not going to be allowed through the gate. I go, come on, mate, we'll talk our way through. He's like, you won't talk your way through. What? You know, I was just like, Jesus. So anyway, we get to the gate, and I'd heard his friend had rung, and the plane had gone, and I saw the plane go over the top, and then we got to the gate, and then a guy came out with a machine gun and said, you're not coming through, you're not registered. And it was, you know, Dubai, it was 35, 40 degrees, and I was out. I had to get away from this army guy for starters, because it wasn't the guy that wanted to go through this particular market with. Like, missing a flight to Iraq, like with the Prime Minister, is pretty serious. And so I was just like sort of wandering around in the desert, you know, it felt like it was, you know, and anyway, the DPS, which are the Prime Minister's bodyguards, they just came out because they didn't have to go to Iraq. They were staying in Dubai. You know, the SAS had taken over, and they pulled over and got in the back of the car with them because, you know, I'd see them around all the time, and they were just like, shit, you know, fuck Paddy. And I was like, yeah, I know. And I was like, I've got to ring my boss. And it was like Sunday evening back in New Zealand, and I was like, I'm just going to get outside and ring my boss because I didn't want them to hear. And I got outside, and of course the heat just fucking hit me. And then I like got back in, and I was like, Jesus, you know, these guys have heard all, you know, prime ministers talk about all sorts of shit. You know, I'm just get back in the air conditioning and do it in front of them. I was just like, hey guys, this is going to be pretty embarrassing, but I've got to ring my boss and tell him that I've missed the flight to Iraq.
Shit.
They were like, make it cool, bro. Make it cool, bro. You're all good, bro. You're all good, Paddy. You just take it easy. Take a few deep breaths, because, you know, I was obviously, you know, they're like, take it easy, mate. Just make the call. Best thing to do is tell him, you know. And I was, you know, at the time, it was the sort of the Mark Weldon was in charge of media works, and there'd been a lot of fucking crazy shit going on back there, and the team morale was really low. He's actually, you know, he was, you know, and you know, I just felt that I was going to embarrass everyone at home as well. You know, it wasn't really just about my own personal situation, which was not great. It was not great. My personal situation at that point was very, very, very low. But, you know, it's also like, you know, this is going to get out, and it's just going to be another embarrassment for us at TV3, and you know, it's going to hurt other people as well. And, you know, my boss was at the movies on a Sunday night or something, and, you know, it was one of the worst phone calls I've had to make professionally. You know, I was just so ashamed, and it was so hard to explain to him what had happened. And, you know, like, how could it happen that these guys have gone to Iraq, you know, without me, and there's no way of going. And the New Zealand Defence Force tried all sorts of stuff, and, you know, they did look for other ways to get me to Iraq. And this guy sort of came back. I was like, are there any other bloody options? And he sort of came back, and I was, you know, so rattled. He was like, you know, yeah, there's a helicopter, but we need an American 4-star general to sign it off. And I was like, well, and I was sort of in the mood like, well, should we try ringing one? You know?
Okay.
So, you know, why not? And it was sort of like looking at me like, you know, it's kind of like, bro, you're not going. So I went back, and I was just in total shock. And I knew one New Zealander in Dubai, and I went and kind of caught up with them and kind of tried to explain it to them. And I wandered around Dubai, like, you know, aimlessly. And then I got back to the hotel, and, you know, tried drinking, I tried going to a beach, I'd done everything, like a whole day. They'd just gone. So I just spent a whole day sort of cruising around, and I just went back to the hotel and got into the foyer, and I talked to the receptionist, and I was like, oh, I'm one of the New Zealand guys or something, and she said, oh yeah, they're coming back tonight. It's like, no, they're coming back tomorrow night. You've got your times wrong. They're going to Iraq for 2 days. They're coming back tomorrow night. She goes, no, they're coming back tonight. And then I walked through and I saw one of the army guys that had stayed behind, and kind of talked to him, and I was just like, mate, I can't believe this has happened or anything. And I kind of noticed this little glint in his eye or something, like, and then anyway, I went upstairs and tried to crash out. And then my phone rang about 3 o'clock in the morning or something, and it was the Prime Minister's press secretary. His number came up, this guy Michael Fox, and I was just like, he left his phone, and we all put our phones in the thing. You weren't even allowed to take them to Iraq. He can't have his phone. He just can't have his phone. And I just answered it, and he's like, and I was like, hello. He's like, you are the fucking luckiest fucking bastard on earth, Paddy Gower. And I was like, what do you mean? And he goes, we're back. And I go, what do you mean you're back? He goes, we just landed. I go, what the fuck do you mean you just landed in Dubai? And he said, there was a sandstorm. We got to the runway, and we sat on the runway, and then we flew out again. We might try going back tomorrow. We're coming back to the hotel. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, he's like, we'll be back in the hotel in 15 minutes. We're on the motorway. Come down to the reception, mate. And I just fucking jumped up like Ali Williams after the World Cup. I was in my undies. So I went downstairs, and Barry Soper and all these guys jump in, and they'd been flying around Iraq and a sandstorm and everything. They had been crashing. They hadn't had any sleep. Literally had gone to a beach club in Dubai to try and take my mind off things. Like, I was the most chilled possibly could have been. Admittedly, my nerves were massively on edge, but I hadn't, they jumped out of here, all the sand dripping off them and everything. It was just like, oh, I'm out of bed, fuck this. You're a lucky prick, yeah, and everything. Went in, and yeah, we went back the next day, and I jumped on the plane, and the SAS guys are there, these big hard asses, and they were just cracking up laughing. They were just like, you are the fucking luckiest guy. Shaking my hand and everything, like it was just like a long lost friend. These hard ass SAS dudes. And I remember the Hercules took off, and we were like all flying, and everyone's like really quite, deflated about doing it again. And I just remember just going, yeah, baby! As we were taking off, I was just like, yes, we're going back. And yeah, ended up going back absolutely fine and covering the story like everybody else. And, no one, people knew as soon as we got out of there that, the Herald and that had a story that Paddy had missed the first flight but got on the second one. But it was just insane. It was just the most insane bit of luck.
I can't imagine. It's the worst nightmare scenario, isn't it? Because you've all had it when you're traveling to the airport and you think, fucking hell, if I got my passport? And then there's that little second of terror, and you're thinking, no, but I can't imagine the Prime Minister on a flight, the biggest job of your career. The whole world. That is next level.
No, it was.
Paddy, I just want to close the loop on your time as the political reporter. Now, Duncan Garner, you mentioned him earlier. He left the job in 2012. And from what I remember, he was kind of a bit overworked, overstressed. It was a bit much for him. And you took it on, and you had all these incredible experiences. I mean, we haven't even scratched the surface. You even talked about Trump. But I'd like to just build into the end, and feel free to talk as little or as much about this as you want. But when it did become too much, and you realized that you had to step away, and the reasons for that?
Yeah, I mean, I'd had some amazing experiences there in 2012. I went over, it was actually, the funny thing is, covering the American elections were actually sort of outside of my kind of job, and I went over and I saw Obama win in 2011. Obama win in 2012. I was lucky enough to go over there for that because I was just about to take over from Duncan, and they were like, "Oh, he needs more gravitas, and let's send him to America, and that'll give him a bit of gravitas," which was thank you, gravitas, because that opened up a whole new world for me, which was reporting on American politics, which I just thought was amazing when I was there in 2012, and lucky to go back in 2016 and 2020. But yeah, near the end, a lot of things had really happened. I think obviously there was the pressure of the job and being at the centre of everything, and the kind of you're always scrapping. Everything's a fight in Parliament. It's just a fight, and that's quite fun at times. And then, but it's also really I found it quite negative and draining, I guess. And you kind of had to have these eyes in the back of your head, and every time you're dealing with someone, it's sort of like, they kind of tell you half the story, and you're sort of always constantly doing sort of deals with people. You know what I mean? That's what politics is all about, and it's the same for a journo. There wasn't this wholesome kind of relationship with people, and that's fine, I guess, if you can kind of turn it off or whatever, and find that in some other way of your life. But I couldn't. And another thing that was happening really was, working in TV was a whole new world, and you do develop an ego as well, and that was something, and I guess I wasn't handling that. I didn't have any perspective really of what was happening in my life, and my professional life. I was developing a big ego, and I was just involved in politics and deals and backroom deals and this and that, and I just started to, it's that old phrase about your old compass, really, I guess, and it just really all kind of built up, and I think also there was a sort of aspect of losing control of what I wanted in my life. Like, I never really sort of wanted to be a political reporter in the first place. I kind of just went there. I got back to New Zealand, and my mum had died of cancer, and I was back working at the Herald where I'd gone before I'd gone on my OE, and politics was there, and it kind of was a new thing. So I kind of went down to do that, and just to do something new, and then got into TV to do something new. Then I became political editor, and none of these things had been anything that I'd ever wanted or desired or planned for. And I guess there was an element of it had all just started to kind of teeter out of control, really. And I was in, I'd done the leaders debate, and there was a huge amount of work, and then I just got back, and I found I was having no enjoyment of the election campaign, when you should be as a political editor, and then Jacinda Ardern won, and there's a lot of pressure with the coalition talks, and then we went over to APEC, which was in Vietnam, and just by that stage, my mental health was deteriorating, and the pressure was just getting way too much, and I just knew that I couldn't kind of carry on. And we were in Da Nang in this kind of crappy old hotel that GIs literally used to go to for R&R. It was probably the best place to have a bit of a breakdown, because it was, so sort of dodgy and surreal, kind of surreal, I guess. And I just remember thinking, I just don't want to do this job anymore. I just don't want to do the next election. I was literally lying in bed, staring at the ceiling of this old fan, probably, with GIs that stared at the ceiling and wondered what they were doing, type thing. And I was just like, I don't want to do the next election. I don't like this job anymore. And then I was like, I don't really want to do another year. And then I was kind of like, it was November. And I was like, I don't think I can make it till Christmas. I want to quit at Christmas. And I was like, you know what? I actually, and I remember thinking this. I was like, I actually don't want to finish this trip. I can't actually finish this trip, which had about 3 days to go. We're in the middle of it, I was like, and then I actually looked at how I could get a flight back to New Zealand, how I could get to one of the major cities and get, because there's heaps of flights in those days. I was like, you know what, I could take a taxi. That would probably cost about $300 to get across Vietnam. That would get me to this flight tomorrow, which would get me to Auckland, and then I could get on another flight and I'll be home, and it'll be over, and then I can quit. So I actually looked at how I could quit in the middle of Jacinda Ardern's first overseas trip at a meeting of world leaders, relatively seriously. I was like, yeah, fuck, I'll do that. Won't be that bad. People just think I'm sick, stomachache or something. It's not the end of the world, and I'll sort it out when I get home. But I've managed to piece it together for like 2 days. Then I was like, no, I'll quit at the end of this trip. That's it. It's over. And that gave me the energy to go, actually, these last 2 days are your last 2 days in this job, and you might as well go and do it. And at the end of that, you get back to New Zealand and you can go and tell the bosses that it's over. And that's really kind of what got me through. And I, did the last 2 days. And I just remember when I finished up with I just remember the last sort of thing that happened was that guy Duterte, the Rodrigo. We went to the Philippines after Vietnam for a day or two. And he was speaking somewhere there, and I remember the camera operator was a good mate of mine, Matt Smith, and we'd done so many trips together and had so many adventures, and we had to go and get to see Duterte, and it was just this massive mission across Manila, different taxis, talking our way into a building, getting a guy to give us a ride, going across a building, nipping in front of some sort of official kind of big group of people and making it through here, and a guy helping us through a back way and everything like this, and using all different languages, and then finally popping out into this room while Duterte was speaking and being there. And that to me was a real sort of symbol of, one last little adventure of this kind. It's meant to be, that's a great way to end it, and you always be able to look back and go, yeah, it just ended on this massive little adventure to find Rodrigo Duterte in the Philippines, and that was it. And then you're out of there, and that was it. And looking back, it took a while. Like I said, I had a really big ego, and it took a while to adjust to life, kind of out of that, but once I started to adjust, and now that I can look back on it and everything, it's like that was the best decision that I ever made, was to get out of that job 100%. It's just like, just wasn't me. It just wasn't what I was about. It just wasn't me. It gave me a lot of great experiences and friends and all of that kind of thing. But as each day goes by, I just, I get more bitter about what happened while I was there. Not more bitter at myself, I guess, and less, I've never really missed it at all, which is sort of a pretty big sign to me that it wasn't meant to be. I like watching it on TV. I still like reading about it and hearing about it and all that kind of stuff, and but it just wasn't my vibe. Yeah, so that's pretty rough when you think, shit, I spent 10 years in there.
Well, Paddy, I know sometimes sharing and reliving and talking about these things is difficult, but I did want to say it's totally relatable. I've personally been in that situation where you're away from home, you're overseas, and you're literally lying there awake, and you're thinking, how the fuck do I get out of here? How quickly can I get out? All I want to do is to get home. And it's, when you're in it, I don't know if it was the same for you, but when you're in it, you feel like, shit, I'm the only person that's thinking like this. And what's it going to be like when I get home? And the bravery to actually make that decision to make a change, I think, needs to be applauded, because a lot of people just kind of sit there and grin and bear it and kind of get through until they get really, really bitter and make a
mate, and I could have done that. I could have done that easily. Grin and bear it for another year or another, and that would have just been a real waste, and yeah, like you say, got more bitter or just things get you more down and grind you more down. So that really was a real turning point for me as well. Just not in the same sort of positive way that those other sort of things have been, but in time it's become really positive. But at the time it was, and it was hard. It was interesting you're saying earlier on about finding people externally to talk to about stuff, because at the time I remember I rang one of my mates and told him what I was thinking of doing, and he couldn't really understand why I was doing it. It was just like, whoa, this doesn't sound. I don't really understand how he worked in the corporate world. He's like, I don't really understand how things work, but is there another role that, like a side? I was like, no, there's no roles, mate. It just doesn't work like that. There's one. He's like, okay. So you sure you want to do this? And I was like, yeah, mate, I want to do it. He's like, okay. So, it was hard to find people that could advise me. So I actually, even though my mental health was really, really weak, I had to actually, in the end, advise myself, which took another layer of my mental strength. Like I couldn't find a confidant to give me the kind of advice that I wanted, which was to quit immediately. Because everyone would be like, hang on, have a break, have a holiday, have the summer off, come back next year, change things, go talk to your boss, see if they can change the role, do, all of these different things. No one actually said, yeah, just fucking go, bro, which is what I needed. Yeah. And I had to find in myself that external advice, which meant, being at such a sort of low point, like having to actually find extra brain energy to do that, and thankfully I did. But yeah, spent the whole summer at home, paranoid, and just would get a lot of joy from just like walking the dog around the block and stuff. Like, be like elated in some ways. It was a really weird vibe. It was like a weight had been lifted, but I didn't know how to celebrate it.
Thanks so much for sharing, Paddy. It sounds like the Paddy Gower story is a real roller coaster, isn't it? It's up and down and highs and lows. And it sounds like
it's all over the show, mate. It's all over the show.
But then you sort of hang up the mic as the political reporter. You don't have anything to go to, but probably a measure of your talent and what our anonymous guest said earlier. It's sort of like NewsHub sort of created this role for you because they knew you were so important. They needed to hold on to you. And it seems from the outside anyway, it's been sort of slam dunk after slam dunk. Paddy Gower on weed, Paddy Gower on pee, the Delta doco, the hate one this week. They seem to have all been huge successes. And I don't mean to keep trying to prod and poke at the worst parts, but I think it's perhaps a nice little seg into the hate if we could just talk briefly about the interview you did with was it Stefan Molyneux and Lauren Southern, which I understand was a real low point, and that can help sort of bring us into the hate doco.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, when you put it in that timeline, because that interview actually came in my first year out of being political editor and before on weed. So it was kind of in a bit of a that was in the sort of aftermath, find yourself kind of year, I guess. And, my ego played a massive part in that happening as well, my big ego, because I wanted to interview them. I wanted to be in the center of the action. And I guess I wanted things to be like they'd been before when I was political editor or something like that, and that's what led me to actually want to interview them that day, or to interview them actually, you know what I mean? And, that was just a really big mistake because...
For those who don't know who these people are we're talking about, how would you describe them?
Extreme YouTubers. They came to New Zealand, Stefan Molyneux and Lauren Southern, extreme YouTubers who are sort of in the world of sort of creating racial division with a sort of it's a pseudo science really, and they were sort of like rock stars of the YouTube world, and I just didn't know anything, I had zero knowledge of white supremacy. I had zero knowledge of what they actually were doing. I kind of had a vague kind of idea when I tried to interview them, with no prep, no notes, no prep, no reading, just kind of got them in off the street after their gig had been cancelled, and had them on a live stream, and they they do this stuff every day, and they made the most of it, and that was that. And at the time, it was kind of like, because I was in Parliament for so long, and every day you'd have a sort of scrap the day before, and you'd come in the next day and kind of talk yourself into the fact that you'd won and the other person was wrong, and I guess I kind of was still in that sort of zone. And also just having a big ego and not wanting to admit that you're stuffed up or anything like that. And I guess I kind of denied what had happened to myself and tried to find, things. But one of the good things that happened was I did start to research what they were about, because I went pretty viral in the YouTube world, and there was a lot of people coming at me on social media, and I started to really look at how it was all working, because I just wanted to know, where the fuck is this fucking heat coming from, and who are these fucking people that have fucked me over, and all of their fucking sicko crew that are kind of in on me, and how does this all work? So I started kind of doing my own personal investigation, just to figure out what I've done, just to kind of, and I just started to get more and more horrified at what was happening with this kind of racial division on the internet and stuff like that. Not even as a journalist, just as just to sort of work out what had happened that day, just to figure out what had happened. And then on March the 15th, the year after, obviously there was the terror attack, and I was in Porirua on the day and reporting another story, and we went straight to the airport, and I jumped on a plane and went down there, and there'd been a killing at a mosque and 5 people had died, was what I knew when I got on the plane. And I jumped on social media while I was on the plane, and I saw the terrorists' manifesto. It was already around. I was able to read it while we were flying, and I knew then. I remember thinking, "Oh, this guy will be a fan of those guys, and he'd probably, if he was living in New Zealand, he'd probably watch me that day." I remember thinking it as we were going to Christchurch, and I was like, eventually, when the cops, as time went by, I was like, yeah, when the cops releases computer records and stuff like that, it'll come out one day that he was a fan of these guys, and it turned out that he did an interview with the Royal Commission, and he said that Molyneux radicalised him, which I knew was going to come, and that came out in the Royal Commission. I knew that was going to come. So it just showed me, a few things. I learned a lot from it. Like, I learned as a professional, when you're a professional at something, and this is almost like a cliche, but sometimes you really, really have to admit that you got it wrong, just as a utter on a base professional level. And once you do that, you can actually get over it and get better again. There's no point in sort of trying to convince yourself or convince others that if you can kind of take ownership of a failure, you've got a chance to, and especially when it's a personal failure, you've got a chance to professionally redeem yourself. The other thing for me was, I just took it really, really personally. The more Muslims that I met after March 15, and the more that I started to understand them and what they'd been going through and how the world worked for them, and I started to feel worse and worse and worse about it. And I showed my documentary to a couple of people from work I know were really, really offended that I interviewed them that day. And one of them, he said to me on the day that I interviewed them, and he works, he's a quiet guy at work, and he said that he was actually thinking of ways to sabotage the interview so it didn't happen. Like, ring the fire alarm or throw something or, scream at them or kind of do something like that so that they couldn't be interviewed in News Hub. And, when he told me that, he only told me that about a week ago. And, to do that to someone that you work with, to make them feel like that without even thinking, because I wasn't thinking about anyone, it's really, I'm really ashamed of all of that, and that's one person, that's not all the people that saw it live streamed by a reputable news organization and a reputable journalist and all that kind of thing. That was just one person, and that's what they felt. And if you magnify that out, on a personal level, I'm just so ashamed that I was so reckless that day. I'm really ashamed of it. So that's what's driven a lot of my reporting about March 15 and the documentary as well, and standing up for the Muslims in Christchurch over the Hollywood movie and trying to give them a platform and stuff like that. A lot of that is driven from that day, because I've been trying to put it right, I guess, later in life. So, as they say, lots of lessons to be learned that day. I learned a lot.
Yeah, well, Paddy, can I just say you should be really proud of what came from it. Me and Shay both watched the hate documentary on Tuesday, and we thought it was excellent. It hit all the right notes. It was really, really good. I wondered, being in lockdown, and normally when something like that screens, I imagine you're probably getting together with the people that have produced it, maybe some of the people that were in it. I don't know how it works, but what's it like with that premiering when you're just not allowed to be with anyone else? Are you just getting bombarded with texts and calls and emails and people giving you feedback in real time? Or are you switching the phone off, or how does that work?
No, I leave it on, and I like to see what people are saying, and it's an awesome feeling when they go to air. And you're right, 'cause I make my documentaries in partnership with my friend. We actually went to university together, Justin Hawkes, and we were in our first year of uni together in English 101, and we became mates. And then he went off and into the TV side of things. He's a director and an editor. And I went off into the journalism side of things, and we always, we were around at his flat once, and we said we'd make a documentary, and that was 20 years or so before, and we tried to get one off the ground we went to TV3 with one about Trump, the potential for Trump to going to the US and coming back with a documentary about, what would happen if Trump won the election, ahead of the 16, and they literally were like, nah, it won't happen, but so it would have been a good documentary. But yeah, we make it together. So usually my tradition is to go and watch it with him, and we have a couple of beers or whatnot, and we watch it, and then we watch it on +1, and we check out what everyone's saying on the social and all that kind of stuff. And that's been an awesome thing for me, to have a creative partnership with someone. That's been a whole new element of my career as well. Not just making the documentaries, but where you actually have to work with someone to get them to a certain level, and you actually use both your experience and your creativity together. And it'll be a lot like, I know this is a sporting, it'd be a lot like being in a cricket team for a long period of time with someone who you know well, and you do have clashes professionally, and creatively, but your mates as well, and you've got to kind of try and find a new way to get to that level. Be like being in a band and stuff as well, and sometimes it does.
It's like co-hosting a podcast.
Yeah. yeah. So usually this is a long-winded answer to say usually I watch it with him, but yeah, you're right. This time I just watched it on my own, which is a really weird vibe. But yeah, it's just such an awesome feeling when they go out, for Justin and I, after all that work from just a tiny little idea, to going out and people watching them is just, it's such an awesome feeling. It is just an amazing feeling for that to happen. You know, it's like it's literally like your creation is out there, and it's just something I never kind of ever thought I'd get into or feel or anything. But it's the creation aspect of the documentaries that I really, really like. Just, you know, it's just like it must be like the same feeling as when a builder looks up at a roof shout or something like that, when they look up at something that they've created. It's just such a cool thing to do.
And you've put so much work into these two docos, and they get released in some, one night after another. That's such a lot of work condensed into one little payoff over 48 hours.
Same.
Yeah, they were pretty different, because one of them, the Hate documentary, took a year, and the Delta one took a week. Like we brainstormed that up over Zoom, and then divvied it up, because it wasn't just me. There was 6 reporters doing one bit of it each. So it's pretty amazing what you can. This is the thing about journalism, and there's so much that you can do. When you put your mind to it, or when something happens, and yeah, one of them took a year to make, and one of them took a week. Buddy, who knows? Yeah.
Paddy, it's clear that the Weed documentary, the Hate documentary, those have been both extremely personal to you. Just hearing you talk and seeing that glint in the animation in your eye when you reflected on your first job at the Herald with the journalism, is there an element of that same kind of notion where it was your first front page, it was seeing the fruits of your work in print, and now it's just magnified to a new medium where it's just that little bit bigger, but it's kind of the same, you're chasing that same buzz?
Yeah. It's totally the same buzz. And like I said before, it's like for me, it's like a builder when the roof is up, or someone surfing pipeline, or I've never done it because I hate golf, but you do hear of this sensation where someone hits a great shot in golf and they want to come back even though they've had a really crap round or something. I guess it's like that for me. It's kind of like, yeah, it's always the same buzz, and it's always slightly different. Every newspaper story you do is always slightly different, and then all of a sudden you get to do one where you use a bit of your experience and your craft, and that adds to it. You know what I mean? And then you get into TV, and it's the same thing. You're like, I'll do this, and I'll experiment with this, and then I'll try this, and and then that might be in the way that you're breaking something, or it might be in the way that you're putting it together for people to watch. And then the documentaries are another sort of level of that, because you're doing a lot of it in one go type thing. And yeah, that's my buzz, bro. Like, I don't know what it is. It's just, that's what I was born to do. That's like what I was put on this earth. It's like literally what I was put on this earth to do, is to be some sort of storyteller, really. And yeah, like, it's been great for me. It doesn't matter whether it's a newspaper front page or a page. I used to get really excited about page 3 briefs, or is it a story that you've broken in politics, or is it a really fast moment in a debate, or is it being really funny on election night, or is it getting a big documentary out that encapsulates a lot of really complex issues or something? They're all the same in the end, even though they all sound really different. They're all the same buzz, and it's awesome to still be getting it after 22 years, and still able to get to it, and also just to be doing something that I know that I love, and I can happily say, that's my reason for being, I guess. That's my kind of like, I guess it's my gift in some ways, and that's been cool to be able to use it.
I think they say 2 docos and the Between Two Beers podcast in 1 week is like the media triple crown. So well done. Achieving the big 3. Yeah, no, Paddy, that's been an epic 2 hours. I mean, people are going to love that. Thank you so much for being so raw and open and humble and vulnerable. Shay, last words before we let Paddy go?
Look, it was encapsulated in those anonymous remarks around your authenticity, and it's a weird thing to meet someone once and feel like, fuck, we could hang out with this guy and have beers and have a barbecue and it would be all good. But for that person, as Stevie sort of said, to be quote unquote an A-list celebrity in New Zealand. And I think that's why people gravitate towards you. And I also think you've kind of hit the nail on the head. You do your best work when people are at the center of it. And it is a gift that you've got. And long may it continue. Long may you keep telling amazing stories and people's stories that need to be told.
Hey, that's the best outro I've ever had. Don't know what to say, but it's been awesome talking to you guys, and I hope people get something from it. And this is fucking Between Two Beers.
Cheers, Paddy.